Where are you sitting? Right here, right?
Yep. Where my soda is. Okay, everyone. Are we nice and full?
Thank you for waiting. I had to have lunch.
Oh my
So I appreciate that.
View from like, we gotta get
Over the shoulder.
There we go.
What kind of camera is that? I haven't seen one of those for 30 years. All right, everyone. Welcome to Days of the Dead Indy. So happy to have you here. As per usual, I'm going to ask you some random whack question about other things you've done, and then we will move on to our audience questions for Friday the 13th, because, you know, I know they're chomping at the bit. Okay, so I forgot this existed until I saw it on your credits, and then it started to come back to me. I saw it, I was way too young to have been seeing this movie. Serial? with the recently lost Martin Mull, also, what was it, Sally Kellerman, Tuesday Weld, Christopher. Everyone is in this freaking movie, right?
Yes.
So can you talk about your experiences on that? And we're just going to play musical mics, so hand it over.
Oh, sorry.
I know you're a mic hog and all, but.
Hi. Serial was a film based on a series of articles in San Francisco about Marin County. And so it was a little gossipy 60s thing. And it had a huge all-star cast, plus me. And it was great, and I played the leader of a Mooney cult, which was big. So it was everything 70s they were making fun of. Anyway, it was a great time, shot up in San Francisco, gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. And then we shot some more stuff at the Mooney house in LA, which was great, great, great. And then we went to a screening before the premiere, and the music started, and I thought, this movie's gonna suck. It was just, the music was just so, anyway, it actually is a very, very funny movie. And Martin Mull, it was his, they were gonna make him a leading man.
Wow.
That was his one shot, and he was great. But anyway, it's a really funny movie now. So check it out. And the day he died, I was in Phoenix, and one of the horror people happened to have a copy of Serial with him. And so I signed his Serial, S-E-R-I-A-L. So check it out at a streaming service near you.
Alrighty, going to Tracy. I just adored 13 Fanboy. Can we talk about that? How did that come about?
It was the easiest. I got to play myself. It was simple. Has anybody even heard of it, 13 Fanboy? Some of you? Yeah. It was really, really fun. I got a call from Deborah Voorhees from part 4 or 5,
Yeah.
6, I don't remember. And she was producing a movie where she was bringing in Friday the 13th actors to play themselves, who they are currently. And there was some person who was stalking, especially the women, and murdering them one by one. And by this time, I'd been out of the business for decades. I'd done other careers, and I was now a college professor. And I thought, you know what, this sounds really fun, I'm gonna do it. So I flew to New Mexico, and we shot for 3 or 4 days. And I played a college professor. But the best part about the movie, for me, the most fun, because remember, I'm not an actor now, it's been decades, but my death scene in that movie, I don't know if any of you saw it, was crazy. I got a power drill to the side of the head, and the blood was everywhere. The blood, from head to toe, I was covered in blood. And I had to fly home from New Mexico that day, and we were in some bizarre location. There wasn't even a bathroom. I mean, I had to go into a sink and kind of lean in and get the blood. I mean, my bra, everything was covered, was pink. My skin, I was pink for about a week after that. No matter how much scrubbing, that blood didn't come off. Yeah. And anyway, that was I had a blast on that movie. There is a little, at the very, very end, if you watch the credits, I did a little kind of blooper thing. So the killer, and I won't give it away, big, tall, strapping, handsome young man, and he'd already killed me, and I'm supposed to just sit there in the chair looking dead. And they shot the scene where he's taunting me and walking around. And I turned to the director and I said, can we do another take? that just didn't feel right to me. It's just crazy, because I'm literally sitting there like this, like, yeah. So, but then I turned to the kid that was taking behind the scenes clips and I said, roll on this, roll on this. So as I'm sitting there looking dead, and this strapping guy who's the killer is walking around me and talking in my face, and as he gets right up into my face and I'm like this, I reach up and give him a big kiss. He screamed. He went, "Ah!" Anyway, everybody laughed, and so they used that in the very end in the bloopers as the credits are rolling. They're showing me. That was so much fun. I loved it. So it's an interesting movie. I can't quite tell you the story because I didn't quite understand the story, but everybody dies, so that's all that matters.
Everyone in it is a Friday the 13th alumni.
Pretty much,
It's
yeah.
like Melanie Kinnaman and Judy Erickson.
Yeah, Judy, yeah.
Bunch of, and some others, Steve Wallace is in it.
Yeah, Ron Sloan,
Yeah.
and yeah, it
A
was
bunch of people are in it.
super fun.
There were a few survivors and a fun twist, and so I enjoyed it. Okay, so I got two for you because she reminded me when she uttered the phrase, "the blood was everywhere." You did a film called "The Blood Was Everywhere," right?
I did. I did. The experience was really great. It was quite a professional setup, considering it was low budget and everything
Yeah.
else. It was funny. I was living back east at the time, and so when they premiered it, I took a buddy of mine, just went, and they showed the movie at a place. It was like where you could have a beer and stuff like that. Then we go and we sit down, and this movie comes up, and it was absolute shit. I mean, it was absolutely terrible. So we get out, and I'm sitting there just dying 1,000 deaths because my buddy, and I dragged him. Just sitting, dying, and then we leave, and we get back in the car afterwards, and I'm like, bro, I'm so sorry I brought you to that. And he goes, what do you mean? I go, that was the worst thing I've ever seen. He goes, I'm so glad you said that, because that was really terrible. You know, but before we go any further, I just want to say something. So I've known Tracy now for 42 years, and we've done other projects together and what have you. And this woman, every time I see her, every time, without exception, her hair is perfect. So, a round of applause for Tracy here. And this woman is not perfect.
So I have helmet hair. And that's what they call news anchors with the helmet hair. And I was a news anchor. I had to do a story for a station I worked for in Los Angeles, and I was in a wind tunnel with hurricane force winds, 120 mile an hour winds, and I'm standing there, and my hair was just straight up blowing. And then I step out of the wind tunnel, and my hair goes. And they took some still screen shots of that photo with my hair, and they had it a graphic put that said Airhead, and gave it to me. Maybe fun little ribbing, but yeah, the hair is pretty much a helmet.
You know, your final scene in the Bone Garden,
Yeah.
Wow.
it was actually really beautiful. I thought, oh my God, Tracy has another look. And it was really quite good.
Crazy.
It's like 1980 all over again.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
No,
Or maybe 1980.
it looks good. I thought it was a great.
Starring Tracy Savage's hair.
The Savage hair.
Yeah, I got it.
That could be its own horror film.
It could be. It is a horror film.
Paul, what I really wanted to talk to you about was you did a series of shorts with my friend Scott Goldberg.
Yes.
I wanted to know about those because I was like, I know this man.
It's interesting, you know, we get contacted by people that want to maybe do a film. A lot of times these young independent filmmakers, you just don't know whether you're, you know, rubbing up against something that's legitimate or whether the person's just whatever. So I tried to do what I could in due diligence to see if Scott Goldberg was a legitimate whatever, there was potential. And I kind of decided it was, and he was super young when I first met him. So he was like 24, and I think he's like 42 now, and has a child, another one on the way, and
And a brand new movie coming out, by the way.
yeah, and Forest Hills, and he brought Shelley Duvall out of retirement for it. That's very cool. Anyway, so I ended up working with Scott, and the guy's just a visionary cinematographer. He struggles a little bit with trying to tell a story, and he really needs a strong producer or AD to kind of keep him on a short leash and that sort of thing. But he's just he has an eye and an ability with a camera that you don't see too often.
Yeah, I agree. I have a very important question for you.
Yeah.
I gotta know. I think you might know the answer.
Okay.
Exactly how many wives did Henry VIII have?
Henry VIII had 6 wives, but Larry King, more importantly, had been married 7 times. And she's asking me that because that was the answer that won me $250,000 on a game show, and I beat Ken Jennings. In a trivia contest. Because I knew that.
Can I just interject? Larry told me he was going to be on this show. I don't know.
It's awesome.
Okay. And but contractually, I'm guessing you couldn't say if you
I didn't
won.
want to ruin the surprise murder.
He didn't. Yeah, he didn't ruin the surprise. I'm watching this game show. And I'm by myself, and I go, "Me won!" I'm jumping up and down in my bed.
2007. Show called 1 versus 100. You can.
He told me the whole story.
If you go to my Wikipedia page, you can see the clip. There's a link to the clip.
Oh my
It's
goodness.
just amazing.
Is that the,
250 grand?
Yeah.
So listen.
Yeah.
We got it. It's all that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
that paid off, dude.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah, right. You're like, why do you know all this? Well,
Yeah.
once in a while,
For
so
two-
my wife can never say like, well, why do you have all that shit in your brain?
250.
Well, hey, I bought you a Mercedes, so you know.
No, we were just now out in the restaurant 10 minutes ago, and Larry is just spewing like what we had or what he ate for lunch the 3rd day of shooting of Friday the 13th. And I'm like, dude, why the fuck do you remember all this stuff? He goes, I can't help it. It's just in my brain. Thank you. You
Validated
serious
himself.
money.
He's the encyclopedia.
yeah. Was that your only game show?
No, I was on a show called The Inquisitor. I won $500. That was like a game show series. Someone knows it. I was on a show called Juvenile Jury when I was 7. Remember that show? It was like it would be like 5. There were 5 kids, and like there would be a question, and what do we
I
do?
can just see you at 7
And
Let me go on and get that.
that wasn't really a game show. It was just like it was one of those kids. Kids say the darndest things.
So how did you get involved in the game show circuit?
The 1 versus 100. It was like literally my nephew said, "Hey, there's this show. You should look at it." He said that on Sunday. On Tuesday, I looked it up. I Googled. They were like, auditions are tomorrow. and so like I went like Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday I was there. I auditioned, and then I was in this one episode where they did. It was 100 people, 101, winner take all. And that was the only episode they did like that. And otherwise, I would not have won any money. Like so,
Did
every
he
other
get,
episode.
did he get a cut of the money?
I brought him a brand new computer.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
That's such a great story.
What a great
And you're
story.
already a full-fledged lawyer. You've been working for 20 years as a lawyer.
Yeah.
And so you go and do this thing.
I was in the crowd. I don't know if you know this show. It's like I was in the crowd. I was just 1 of 100. No one expected me to win. I was like, because when I won, there was like 5 people left, and then I was the one who got that one, and they were like, they had to stop production. They're like, oh fuck, this nobody won. They thought Ken Jennings was gonna win. And then I'm like, what? And then, I don't know what's going on, but I'm right next to Ken, and I'm like, hey, Ken, what did you? He's like, I put Henry VIII, and I'm like, I don't think that's right. And then I'm like, oh, I may have won this thing. It's good. It's a good day. Watch the clip.
It was spectacular.
Have you ever won a game show?
Well, no, but I have gotten steak knives from our game show. I can project. I don't need it. Yeah, when you live in LA and you're an actor and you're starving, you look for any free money, and game shows, they have game shows. So I've done about 5 of them. I don't remember them all, but I do remember not really winning anything.
Steak knives.
Steak knives,
You should
really
have been on
good
the
cut
show.
knives. Yeah.
You should have been on the show, David, where you could call a friend and then you could call him and he could give you the answer.
He'll know.
Oh, I was a millionaire, but I didn't get into the hot seat.
Well, yeah, I didn't get there.
You
but-
should have been on Fuckboy Island. That's for sure.
Right? Right? It's true.
That's a real show.
Do we have any audience questions? Not yet? Oh, right there. Yes, you, young man. For Larry?
Microphone?
Is it true that like you were like at like a convenience store and they were like, hey, you want to be in a movie?
Is it true I was at a convenience store and you were like a movie? Sort of true. So the way I got cast in the movie is that I was a wannabe actor. I was studying acting. I was 18, and I had a job handing out movie tickets to sneak previews of movies, which is something we do in LA, right? You go, you want to see this movie, and then you see if people like it, right? So I was in Westwood on a Saturday night handing out tickets to The Road Warrior, a movie no one had ever heard of, and these people came up to me and they said, are you an actor? And I'm like,
I hope so.
Yes. Like I'm thinking like, what is going on? And they're like, well, we wrote this movie and we think you'd be perfect for it. And those are the writers of the movie, and Carol and Marty, and they saw me and they're like, that's Shelley. And really, if you look at the script, it's like if my best friend had written a part for me, they couldn't have written a part that was more me than Shelley. Like it was like, fat, afro, wannabe actor, all that stuff was just me. So I had an agent. I gave my agent's info, and then Tuesday I got a call to go down and audition. So I still had an audition and beat out the role from whoever, Sean Penn and Al Pacino. But that all happened, and but that's how I got the audition, and that's how I got the role. So that's my other game show win.
Did you guys want to share your audition story?
Well, I'm just curious. They didn't make you sleep with them? They made me sleep with them.
And you know what? They were going to hire you as the lead, but after that.
Wow.
We're going up for calls.
I will also point out, I've known Tracy for over 40 years. Her mom was my agent, and Paul's agent.
And Paul's agent. And David Wiley's agent, and Nick
There's
Savage's
like
agent.
so many of us that were with her mom, and so yes, I don't know what I was going with that, but it would have been a great story.
What was your audition like, Paul?
Another one of Tracy's mother's clients was an actor named Harris Cow, who had a recurring role in Happy Days. A little backstory: Harris's dad married her mom at some point later. Anyway, Harris went on an audition. He comes back and he says, "Paul, you got to go meet these casting directors because they're nice guys." Not always the case. Casting directors can be a little short. They just don't always treat actors with the kind of respect you'd expect. So anyway, I called Judy, Tracy's mom, and said, "Hey, can you get me in for this thing?" And so I went in and I read for the role of Danny, the one who walks on his hands. And the casting director said, "No, you're not right for that role at all, but we think you'd be right for the lead. Can you come back tomorrow and meet the producer and the director?" And I said, "Let me check my..." No, I'm just kidding. I said, "Of course." And so I came back the next day, but as I was leaving that first meeting, they said, "Look, when you come back, the guy, he's the character, he's not a city guy, so don't dress like a city guy. Maybe he's a carpenter, something like that." And so I kind of ran with that. And the next day I showed up and I had blue jeans and work boots and parka, and I carried a big long 2x4 into the office, carrying a skill
The whole 2x4.
Yeah, carrying a skill saw, and they're like, "Oh, I love it." You're just sucking up. So anyway, I go through the thing and the reading, and it went great. And I'm sitting there, and Frank Mancuso Jr. and Steve Miner said, because at this point the movie hadn't been formally given the title because they were trying to keep it on the quiet, possibly doing it non-union. And they came out and they said, "Hey, are you familiar with Friday the 13th, Part 1 or 2? And I said, "No, I don't watch those kind of movies. It's not my kind of thing." And they look at each other and go, "Just our luck, we get this guy in here." But I think they actually appreciated that I was candid enough. I wasn't trying to kiss up to them. And so anyway, I read for 2 months because they were trying to find the girl, the lead. And so I didn't have a contract, so it was very nerve-wracking because I literally came in like 2-3 times a week to do screen tests with other actresses, but I didn't know I had the job. And I felt pretty confident, but until you sign, you just don't know in that business, right? So I kept doing it, and after 2 months, I executed the contract, and it was a thumbs up.
Your story is pretty close to mine. I got chosen pretty quick. They didn't say I had it absolutely, but I read with 6 different actresses for my girlfriend. And then they didn't end up casting any of them. But yeah, it was unnerving because you go, "I think they like me."
May I borrow that for a moment?
You may.
Now, their experience is very different from mine. You have to remember that this was low budget. It was Paramount, but it was certainly not a film that was on anybody's high radar. My agents, I didn't audition, but my agent said, no, come on. I had like 2 Lou Grants that they were offering me, you know, and I was doing chips and those kind of things.
Yeah.
And they said, this movie is going nowhere. As he said, they were even trying to like get away with doing it non-union.
Yeah.
This was not a high-profile picture. It happened to hit the jackpot, and it had Steve, that's who I knew, you know, to produce it and get it done really, really well, threw in the 3D thing. But you're looking now saying, Friday the 13th Part 3, at the time, this was not a high-profile job. And I was told it was not a good enough job. But I like these movies. So I said, I like Steve, I like these movies. But you kind of have to remember where this was in the hierarchy of 1982.
I think Paramount had an inkling because this is the third.
Oh,
in a
no, I'm
series.
not saying,
But
but
we
in
didn't
terms of
perceive.
like, what Paramount knew they were gonna make their money.
Paramount didn't like these movies. Frank Mancuso
Right.
Jr. was the son of Frank Mancuso Sr., who ran Paramount. That's why Paramount was distributing the movies.
It's a-
The president's son was producing.
Yeah.
They didn't like them, and they, you know, and they were considered a negative pickup. They weren't really a producer. They were Paramount production. We weren't on.
Right.
We were an independent production.
They were
Paramount
distributing.
Was going to distribute.
But the truth is, there's what's that saying that B movies make A money, and that's the situation with this.
Not for the cast.
Until now.
And so, you know, these movies have been just, you know, a cash machine for the studio because they, you know, invest a small amount and yield quite a good return, so. But yeah, the agents, I guess, you know.
Yeah, no, but it's just kind of where this sat in the hierarchy of the time.
Yeah, until they got to Freddy vs. Jason, Part 3 was the most successful of the sequels.
Oh, yeah.
One
It
was
made
one
over
had made a
$100
bunch of money,
million
and
when
then 2 went
tickets were
down,
like
and then
$4.
three was really,
The 3D.
the 3D was a
Yeah.
huge thing. You guys are, some of you are old enough to remember.
3D was, part 3 was because you brought the mask. That's what made it, right?
Richard created Jason. That was the film. It's all Richard. All right.
The real star of this movie is the 3D. Absolutely the 3D. It's not us, it's 3D. And after the screening for the cast and crew, I went up to Frank Mancuso Jr. and Steve, and I said, you know, this is a really bad film. They said, you know, 3D hasn't been done in 20 years, and it's named Friday the 13th. It's gonna make so much money, we don't give a damn. They were right.
And David never worked again.
And I never worked again.
Making friends.
Do we have any other questions?
When you signed on, did you know it was going to be 3D, or was that kind of thrown at you when you started?
Yeah, that we knew, I think, yeah.
And then once we got filming, it became very apparent because the technical aspects made it quite challenging, and they would just spend so much time to try and get the technology and the cameras and everything right. And as an actor, you kind of want to maybe, you know, you're never satisfied with what you've done. You kind of want to do something, another take, and they're like, you're dreaming, dude. You're young. We don't care about you. We're moving on.
Yeah, unless we did maybe, 1 or 2 takes, that was it. Like, unless there was a 3D thing. Like, am I throwing the wallet at the camera? That was, until it was like 15 takes, because it was just like, you gotta hit the camera, you gotta hit the camera. It's not easy to do.
Larry and Danny made me 5 extra days of work because of that juggling scene. It took a while to get that right, and I got to show up and didn't end up working, but I got to benefit from your inaccuracy.
Danny's inaccuracy.
He's not here, so you gotta play him out.
Yeah, he's only a skilled surgeon these days, but I'm sure his hands weren't that good.
Who was the hardest partier on set?
What was that?
Who was the hardest partier on set?
No, not true. Yes, my dressing room smelled like marijuana. It is true. But I was just doing research.
So with that being said, were you supposed to kind of be like a Tommy Chong?
Not kind of, exactly
Oh,
right.
okay. Is that how they
Yeah.
directed you?
So like Paul, they chose me pretty quickly, but without officially saying so, but they told me very early, start growing your beard, start growing your hair. And we want to do a male, female, Cheech and Chong. They said it out loud, so. And it's funny, because all the actresses I read with were Hispanic, but not the one they ultimately cast. It's very strange, but I have 10 years of stand-up comedy under my belt. And I did comedy with Tommy Chong, and I told him, I said, before I was a comic, I was an actor, and I ripped off your character. And he said, all right, dude.
Favorite kill? What was your favorite kill?
In this movie?
Yes.
I would say eyeball.
Yeah.
For me.
Mine was the spear gun in the eye, because the way it came off screen and then went, the whole thing was, I thought that was a great death.
But I remember in the theater, day one, seeing it in the theater with the crowd, first time, and the eyeball pops, and the whole place jumped.
Oh, it's nuts.
I mean, that's the thing. If you ever can see the movie in 3D at a theater, go see. They've just put out a new digital print. It's beautiful. They put a new surround sound mix on it. You will love the movie if you see it in 3D at a theater. It's just great.
Favorite kill?
Well, I'll have to be biased a little bit, but I thought my kill was phenomenal. And
Pretty good.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome, the hammock.
World-class chest, yes, go
Yeah,
ahead.
there you go. There you go. It took, as we're talking about the 3D effects, took a long time. It was a whole day of shooting just to get that 1 4-second shot. But it was also, wasn't it a sort of a play on part 1,
Kevin Bacon.
Kevin Bacon's death. And it was just a classic, knife through the throat kind of thing, and blood.
From under the bed.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
very specific scene,
Yeah.
right?
I would say that was my favorite.
What's your second favorite one that's not yours?
Yeah. Come on, Tracy.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go to the eyeball. That was a pretty darn good one. Yeah. Although Shelley's was good too.
The eyeball got written up in People magazine.
It
Eyeball
did?
death.
That's funny.
I'm just amazed that Jason he kills Danny with the hand and doing the handstand, and then gets his body up on top of the rafters. And Debbie comes out, just gets in the hammock, doesn't notice, is flying, guts all over the place, like just so oblivious. I really want to read this Fangoria magazine.
Priorities.
It's baby brain.
The Fangoria magazine. That was such a beautiful touch.
Yeah.
Favorite kill?
Favorite kill? Well, first of all, I want to say about my kill that I was upset that they didn't show it. They did the makeup for it, they burnt my headband, they burnt my glasses, they flailed my skin, and they don't show it in the film. I don't know why.
It is all about you, David.
It is. This is a film about David King. No, I have to go with you, your choice. I like the spear gun. I think that's pretty fun. Didn't happen to me.
About you?
Well, silly. Some like chocolate, some like strawberry, some like vanilla. They're all just what they are, and they're all so much fun.
Are you running for office?
These guys can't hire you.
But they can get you at other cons.
Yeah.
They can pester the promoter until they hire you there.
Yes.
Right.
And I'll save my answer till then.
Oh.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen.
All right. Any questions over here? Yeah.
Hi, we're from Pittsburgh, so we're from the land of like Tom Savini and practical, super gore effects, a lot of detail in that. But as far as your movie and the experiences you've had, what do you like more? What's your flavor? More practical effects, which take a lot of time and also a lot of cleanup, or stuff that's been more digitally edited or 3D or things like that? Some of the newer styles.
As an actor, you like the practical because you're in the middle of it, right? And you're working and you're on the set and everybody's hovering around and it's challenging and exciting and you got to get it done in one take because maybe you only have one appliance that they have ready. It's edgier. It's definitely more, as the actor and in the center of it, you definitely like the practical part.
Yes.
And as an audience member, the CGI always takes me out. You know, yes, it could be done really well, but it takes me out of the story, of the reality. So for me, practical all the way.
Nobody ever says, wow, what a great digital special effect in that movie. You go, look at the head explosion of scanners. Look at the guy getting his guts torn out in Dawn of the Dead. Look at the eyeball is practical. The spear is just a nice cut.
Or going back to,
But the handstand was practical. They built that. It's amazing.
well, and even going back to like Sam Peckinpah movies, I mean, that kind of stuff, it's like the craft. And I'm not trying to minimize or denigrate the incredible work that the behind the scenes digital people are doing today. But that kind of crafting and making films, I just really have an affinity for that. I think it's just really beautiful, and it adds to an audience experience when they can capture that on film. There's just it's just like a fabric to it that you can feel. You may not even be consciously aware of it, but you sense it and experience it differently, I believe. You know, it's kind of on a similar track. Neil Young is on a real campaign about music, and he said that even the way, like when a song is played on a vinyl record, the way those notes come out is, in a pure sense, our brains receive them in a way that doesn't happen digitally. To the point where when they digitally remaster and then apply that to vinyl, you lose something than what they had back in the day. And I don't know if it's because Neil Young and I are both older than dirt, but I just appreciate that perspective.
Yeah, I want to say, Paul, it's really old.
Oh, you need to give him the same movie you gave me.
It's the same age.
He's actually older, so.
I'm the oldest one, so I can say anything I want.
I'm the youngest, so.
You the little baby? Okay, anyone in the section?
32.
Anyone in the section? Anyone in the section? No? All right, I'll continue then.
Can I say one more thing about hair?
Of course, David.
I like anybody with hair of any type. They ask me if I'm losing my hair. I'm not losing my hair. I know where it is. It's in the shower floor. I'm not calling Scotland Yard. Hello, have you seen my hair? Okay, that's all I have to say.
You should grow it out and get tips from Tracy on her helmet.
Grow it out.
You
man.
one day too will grow old. Let this be an example.
It's sad. It's very sad.
Paul's got all his hair.
Yeah, and it's not too gray. I don't know what the hell happened. I just won the lottery on that one.
It is not CGI.
All right, let's go back to the good subject. Someone ask a question before David comes.
Okay, so, sir and ma'am, you've been doing this a long time, obviously, right? And we all love Friday the 13th. What advice would you give your younger selves before you walked into this movie?
Knowing what we know now, that knowing then.
What would have helped you back then walking into this and what it's going to be? Because you never knew that.
Great question. Somebody else answer.
Well, I was already. Don't resist it. I was already heading off.
Take a picture.
I was already pursuing a different career. I was going to be a broadcast journalist, and I was already done with the business. I was done. And my mother, an agent, and I was moving to Michigan, Ann Arbor, to go to college. And my mother, the agent, says, "Tracy, you got it." I'm like, Mom, I'm done. You just go on. It'll pay for college. And she was right. And I worked on the film, and all I was thinking was, this is tuition at University of Michigan. This is what this is for. So I didn't have the pressures or the stress of, God, I hope I'm good in this movie, because I wanted to lead somewhere for my future acting career. I was like, this is fun, and I'm just making money so that I can go pay for college. So when I look back now, I probably would have had even more fun, because where it ended up is incredible. And the fact that we're here 40 some years later is incredible. Yeah, and I'm so grateful. Like at the time, I thought, you know, I'm going to be taken serious as a broadcast journalist, and I'm going to cover major stories, so I'm not going to talk so much about my acting career because I don't want to be thought of as, you know, some bimbo actress, which is not nice. But
You tell the O.J. Simpson thing?
no,
But you have to tell them. No, tell the story. It's a good story.
Well, so anyway, I would have had more fun, Danny, than I did, because knowing where we ended up 40 years later, because I did keep my career kind of under wraps for the first few TV jobs, broadcast jobs I did. Again, I want to be thought of as a hard news reporter. So fast forward to 1995, and I'm covering the O.J. Simpson trial in Los Angeles, and
For NBC News, by the way, not just like, no,
Yeah.
like she was, like,
Yeah.
we all knew Tracy.
And I got subpoenaed by the defense team. They wanted me to reveal who my confidential sources were. And there's a thing called the SHIELD law that protects journalists from revealing their sources. So I knew that I was never going to reveal my sources. But it was kind of a scary time. I had to take the witness stand, and the entire world was watching. And so I was like panic stricken that I would say something stupid or look stupid, you know, in front of the world. But the National Enquirer ran a story. Now this is 15 years after the movie. I'd been a reporter for 7 years, 9 years. Ran a story from Friday the 13th. Remember, I have the shower scene. Topless news reporter to testify in the O.J. Simpson trial. As if I'm doing my news report topless. And it was in the National Enquirer. And of course, at the time, I was again like, oh my God, this is going to ruin my career. Now I laugh. I think that's just ridiculous and funny. And hey, look, I made the National Enquirer. But at the time, it was crazy and ridiculous. So,
Who was the source? Who was the source?
yeah, I can never say.
Well, Tracy, let's stay on you for just a second. You know, you talked about, you know, might be the only one here that has been doing this for a very long time, right? I think.
I did my first commercial.
Right. So, what advice would you give child you? Like when you were aware of what you were doing, and what would you like to have known then, or tell your little 5-year-old self?
Well, back decades ago, the industry was very competitive. I competed against Jodie Foster, who's a brilliant actress, and Helen Hunt, and Christine McNichol, and Melissa Gilbert, and a lot of really good actors. I was an average actor, but I wasn't fantastic. But it still was competitive. Today, it's ridiculously competitive. And I would say my mother's an agent for children. She's retired now, but her business is still thriving in Los Angeles. Just know if you're getting your kid in the business, they have to absolutely be passionate about it. They have to, like, it's all they want in the world because it's so competitive. There's a lot of disappointment. There's a lot of rejection at a little age, a young age. And if your kids want to do it, if your parents and you're raising children who want to be actors, it had better be their choice. Because if it's your choice, it's really hard on the child.
And don't you think too that I think a lot of young actors, they have kind of a dual motivation. Because particularly now in today's world with social media and constant exposure, trying to draw attention to yourself, the idea of being known, a celebrity or beyond, that is not the perspective you want to have. You want to be a creative artist. And so when you see a child that wants to have it with a passion, they better have a passion for creativity and performance, not for the attention that performance will ultimately get them. Because with the people that are successful are the people that are good at what they do.
Yeah.
And that's a fine line, because I think, and for me at that age, you ask, what would I tell my self at that age, was to be more focused, for sure, and not let the distractions of what was happening, because it was a big deal for us to get on this film. For all of us, we're like, wow, this is really cool. And so it's just hard, you show up and the camera's rolling and you gotta be there. So there's a lot of lead up that you can do to stay undistracted. And it's hard though. So that's what I would say, yeah, for anybody, it's not an easy thing to do.
I'd like to add to that though and say that if they do it, if they really are into it and they do it, being told no all the time is good for humans. We don't get everything we want. And for them to say, okay, I didn't get 8 of them, but I got the 9th audition, that's great. That really makes you stronger in character to be told, okay, I can suffer, I can get setbacks, but I can have successes too. And that's what I would tell myself.
It can get that, and then also lots of years in the therapist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they need money too, so.
What about you, Larry?
I think I would say to myself, like, we were in the #1 movie in the country for 2 weeks. It was the #1 movie. It was like, right, it grossed the equivalent of like $60 or $70 million. I mean, it was well, more than that, like over 100 in 1982 dollars.
Yeah.
And I thought, now I'm the shit right now. I'm gonna work, and no, like nobody cared. Like that's not a thing. Like nobody's like, you're in a horror movie, now you're gonna do more work. So you better be don't get up above yourself, because no, they don't really care about horror actors. I mean, and you can look at the Friday the 13th cast. There are a few, Kevin Bacon, Crispin Glover, and Amy Steele, but she was famous before. Dana was famous before. But the people who were they didn't become famous. Like, not people from Friday the 13th didn't really go on, and we've all gone on and I'm professional. I'm a lawyer, a chiropractor.
Yeah, that was a disappointment, actually.
We all left the business. So you just get, if you want to be actor, do it, but then keep hustling, keep studying.
Well, no, I got drawn into that, and I believe I left Judy as my agent because I had an agent who thought that because I did this role in Friday the 13th, that I was ready to jump maybe 2 or 3 tiers, and it was a huge mistake, because as an actor, you just got to keep moving, and it's incremental. So this agent fed me with a lot of maybe what I thought I wanted to hear, or I just was,
I'm gonna make you stop.
Yeah, or I just was, got his enthusiasm. So I was going out for auditions against Christopher Walken and people like that, and I'm like, I knew in my mind that I wasn't in that category yet. Maybe I could get that way. And so the rejection wasn't just your typical rejection, it was rejection because my agent wasn't building upon what I just did.
Yeah.
You just take the next baby step and the next baby step. And you don't go from step A to D. You go to B, maybe you can go back to A and then go to C, and you move your way up. And so that's another thing I would tell my young self is don't get ahead of yourself and don't think you're the shit, like you said. Or let somebody like an agent tell you that you are until you've earned that.
I would also say this, it's called show business. So many actors, they're good at the show, they can act, but they don't know how to hustle. They just don't know how to hustle for their own work, and you really got to.
And have a lot of luck too.
And got luck, you got to have luck too, but if you don't hustle, you're not going to get work.
You, sir. I know David's hogging the mic and all.
I'm trying to hand it to him, he won't take it.
If the question is about the experience and
What would
would
you
I
tell
change
yourself?
anything?
No, what would you tell your younger self knowing what you know now?
About this particular
Yeah.
3D experience?
Were you in the
No,
room?
no.
Were you in the room for the last 20
Okay.
minutes?
I would tell myself, you're doing great,
Yay.
keep going.
That's right.
Never made a mistake.
In your guys' movie, Jason finally got the hockey mask. At the time, did you realize it was going to be as iconic as it?
No.
No way.
No way. Except for Larry, he thought so.
I mean, who would know that there would be? We thought it would be the last movie. No one thought there would be another movie, but I knew enough to ask for the mask. I said, "Can I keep it?" And they're like, "No." But then no one knows where the part 3 masks. So it just got lost to history. It was, probably worth a couple $100,000.
It's probably like a pop song, or really popular. People have a sense that something's going to happen. We didn't have that sense, but I don't think anybody had any idea that the hockey mask would become such an iconic.
Well, I never even saw Jason in the hockey mask. Neither did you. You have one, you never see him in the hockey mask. You don't, I mean, we
No,
don't, he's
well, I saw him on the set with a hockey mask.
right, but he's not like, but it wasn't like a thing, like you go like, oh, it's gonna be a thing, you're like, we don't even have scenes with him, like, where you see like, oh, this is cool.
A happy accident, no
Our
question.
Jason was Richard Brooker, and he was British. And the first time I saw him on set, he had that hockey mask on, and he was walking around with a pipe. Going, all right, who am I going to kiss now?
All right, well, that about wraps it up. Everyone give it up.
Thank you.
I love your vine stamp. Come on up.
Thanks for coming
Oh, thank you.
to the event and to this
Oh,
meeting.
and, yeah, and the person, my friend.
Discussion.
Back in our thing.
All right.
I would have also told my earlier self, don't worry, you're going to be so good looking they can't resist you.
Right. Yeah, that's Come on in, guys.